Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris. And guys, I just want to take a quick second, man. It's been so amazing to have all you guys been watching. I mean, even if this is the first time you watch, and if you guys been watching 100 videos, you watch 2, I don't care what it is, man. It is so awesome. For me, especially, like, I'm just some kid from Ohio that's been sitting here trying to talk about my favorite sport for the last few years. And I mean, I'm a broken record. I have plenty of friends. I am blessed in life. I'm very loved. I have so many friends. But when it comes to this sport, I don't have many friends that know the sport like I do. I've been watching this. I haven't missed a card for 18 years. So the fact that I can come on here and just talk about some of my favorite topics of the sport, some of my favorite questions, whatever, and to have any of you guys, comment back and to, just to interact with me, man, it's been some of the coolest things ever. And I feel so blessed. I'm like the luckiest dude that's ever lived. And, I think we're coming up on 600 subscribers or whatever, which is, it blows me away. I never even expected to have 6. So, but my main thing is, man, for real, I do not care about likes. I don't care about subscriptions. I seriously couldn't care less about that stuff. I'm not here to be a TikToker or an influential person or famous or whatever. I'm literally just here to talk about my favorite sport with people. And if you guys are that same way, I'm so happy to have you on the train. And if you guys want to hop on the train, go for it, man. It's been some of the funnest times ever. And I feel so lucky. And I promise y'all, I'm going to be doing this till the wheels fall off, either until I die or until I fall out of love with this sport. And I don't see that happen anytime soon, knock on wood. And, just all I'm saying is don't let me get paid off this stuff. Don't let me get paid. Don't let me get a job in MMA and it's over. That's all I'm saying. I will never let it go and I'll be the happiest man that's ever lived. So I already basically am. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. And I don't thank you guys enough, seriously. I do during the comments and stuff, but when it comes to videos, I appreciate every single one of y'all and hopefully we can keep this going. But this gets me into today's topic. One of the coolest things about being a fan of MMA for so long, and I guess more so the UFC, because, I mean, clearly they're king, it's just been so cool to find some of my favorite fighters ever. Max Holloway, John Jones over the year. I've been lucky to see that I can watch these guys, their very first fight in the UFC, and then I've been watching them ever since. To see Anderson Silva and GSP in their prime doing their thing, Chuck Liddell kind of towards the end, Rampage Jackson doing his thing, to watch some of my favorite fighters, to see some of the craziest moments ever. I could do an hour-long video just talking about my favorite memories of the sport. And one of the biggest things as an MMA fan, especially if you guys, I think you guys could agree, if you guys have been here since circa 2012, 2013 with the UFC or MMA, the rise of Conor McGregor will always be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in any sport ever. I've been lucky. We got to watch the whole, the Kobe Bryant, the LeBron James thing and the NBA. We got to see, Tom Brady in the NFL. We got to see some amazing things, truly, if you're around my age or older or whatever. We've gotten to see some amazing things in sports. But one of the coolest things up there, easily a top 10, top 5 thing ever, was just how Conor McGregor put Ireland on the map and just took MMA over. I will never forget it. The Diego Brando fights, the Marcus Brimage fights, the Max Holloway fights, the Dustin Poirier first fight. Don't even get us going into the rivalry with Nate Diaz, the whole Eddie Alvarez, the Jose Aldo knockouts. Clearly, all of those will stand the time. It's the test of time forever. But it was just so crazy. Like, I don't think any of us will ever argue that Conor McGregor is the greatest fighter ever. I don't think we'll ever argue that he's, the most talented fighter ever, because he's definitely not. But we will always, say that there was never somebody like Mystic Mac in his day, man. To see him call his shots, to see him legitimately call the sequence that would knock somebody out, and he would do it. The way he was practicing the knockout, the hook, the straight, I should say, in the back of there's footage all over the place. It's up here right now when he was in the back warming up for Aldo, literally doing the same sequence that he gets that straight in when Aldo's trying to, throw the hook. Some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, man. To see his finishes, it was the coolest stuff ever. And it was one of the first times we saw a littler guy, like 155er, 145er, start taking people out. And of course, I'm going to always die on that hill. I think the Eddie Alvarez fight at UFC 205, although it was probably one of the greatest performances, if not the greatest performance of all time in MMA, it was probably the downfall of Conor McGregor. Like, if you're somebody, because I don't want to ever be a dick, because if you're somebody who's a fighter and you're trying to, just become successful, the whole goal is to make money. You hear all these guys all the time. The only reason I fight is for money. I could fight in the gym for free. I could fight in the streets for free. The only reason we do this and go through weight cuts and everything is to get money. That's the only reason any of us work. So if we're talking that aspect, Conor McGregor is the most successful fighter that we've ever seen. There's no doubt of it. But when we're talking about the legacy, when we're talking about his fighting, career, I think he's starting to even realize now that was probably the downfall of it all. Because of course, you go out there, you become double champ, you become everything. You're the man. You're literally the number one guy. You get the Floyd Mayweather fight. You go on over there. I thought he looked better than anybody expected him to. He still loses, but then he gets all this money, makes the UFC all this money. And then we see him, 4 times in the last fucking 8 years, and they've all been losses. Like, this is where it gets tough. And now that they finally announced the whole, Michael Chandler fight finally in June, it is exciting. It is cool to finally have Conor McGregor back. But I do feel bad for some of you guys that maybe are, just now, coming to the UFC, or maybe since COVID or whatever. If you guys are just now MMA fans, like, you guys don't understand the hype that we have for Conor McGregor. You don't understand the respect we have for Conor McGregor. You guys just see him as that annoying drunk guy that's beating up girls, beating up old men, cheating on his wife, doing all these things, just, causing problems. And I don't blame you. I'd hate Conor McGregor too if that's all I had. But it's just sad, man, that it's been 10 years now, and we won't probably ever see Conor McGregor again at his prime. Well, like, guaranteed not. I mean, the dude literally just turning 36 in July, and we haven't seen him fight since 2021 when he snapped his leg. And I'm just warning you guys, this is the part that's so upsetting, is if he goes out there and somehow beats Michael Chandler, in which truly, International Fight Week this month or this year, in 2 months, the end of June, like, there's a strong chance he could beat a Michael Chandler. That's like one of the greatest, matchups I think out there, especially if we're talking Michael Chandler probably possesses the grappling to make that night a very long night for Conor, who hasn't fought in a while, who looked like he went through a whole steroid cycle, who got very big, who hasn't been active. He's been rich. He's been living it up, like making movies. No, this is a good, I think he probably possesses the skills to win. But we all know Michael Chandler's just going to go out there and try to make it a fun fight. And he's going to give Conor McGregor a chance to knock him out. And out of all the guys in the top 5, top 6, I think I like the Michael Chandler matchup the most for Conor. But what makes this kind of upsetting and kind of scary is I don't be shocked at all if Conor McGregor gets this win against Michael Chandler and then it's off to the races. He's instantly going to the Islam fight, getting a title shot, getting all these things. And the man has legitimately only won twice since 2016. He beat Eddie Alvarez and Nate Diaz in 2016, which when we talk about the Nate Diaz fight, that could be its own video itself, talking about how I don't even think he won that second fight, but, he gets it on split decision, whatever. It was a great fight. It was a great time. It was cool and everything, but still, luckily he goes on to put on the greatest performance of all time against Eddie Alvarez. So you get those 2 wins in 2016. Then you lose to Floyd, you lose to Habib, and then you finally come back in 2020 and beat a Donald Cerrone that I'm not trying to be. I love Donald Cerrone. And if Donald Cerrone's watching this, which he's not, but if he is, I do love you. I think you're an amazing fighter. I have so much respect for you. But 2020 Donald Cerrone isn't 2014 Donald Cerrone. That guy was getting beat by a lot of people in 2020. And he's even talked about how the nerves got to him, and it wasn't even like he really even fought that night. So it's like we're sitting here, and after the 2 Dustin Poirier fights or whatever, we're really sitting here, and there's a potential chance that Conor McGregor at 36 years old with no major win, and especially in the division in the last 8 years, could probably get a chance at a title fight against Islam just because of the bad blood, just because of the name, just because of the views, just because of just everything, the pay-per-view buys, the hype, everything. And it's just so funny to me, man. Nobody else in this entire industry and this entire sport could go 8 years with barely fighting, only winning going 1-5 in your last 6 or whatever. Like, there's no way you could ever argue to even have a main event spot, to even come back and get what you want, and let alone to finally get a Michael Chandler fight you want at a weight that's not even 155. You guys are fighting at 170, and the winner of that might have a chance to just jump into the title picture at 155. Like, come on, man. Like, do we really even want to see this? This is my whole point. I love Conor. I think we would all die to see him win again. It'd be nice to have him around the sport again. But when you're talking from the UFC, like, look how much the UFC's been doing to keep him away. We see it all the time. Conor's talking about how, I've been trying to fight for the last 8 months. I went through 3 camps, but the UFC just doesn't want to put me on UFC 300. They don't want to give me these big spotlights. They don't want to throw me on the Sphere fight yet because they don't need it. They want to try to show that we don't need these guys anymore. We don't need one big superstar. And yet they've been keeping Conor on the back burner. And then now we got it finally going. And I'm just sitting here just laughing because I'm telling you guys right now, I'm warning y'all right now, he will get a title shot if he beats Michael Chandler. If he knocks out Michael Chandler, they're going to instantly throw him up against Islam because this is his last chance. He's 36 years old. There's no way he's going to be fighting much longer. And the thing that kind of helps him a lot, as much as I feel bad for Michael Chandler, I've done videos talking about how bad I feel for Michael Chandler. I've been talking about how much he's been getting played, even though it's good for him. I'm happy he's going to get the fight, but literally today, April 24th, this guy just turned 38 years old at 155. Like, that is, you're ancient at 155. We see it all the time when it comes to stats and everything. Like, at 35 years old in any other division, you're getting old. But especially the lower like weight classes, the smaller guys, like how many 20-year-olds are coming up? You got the Armin Sarukians out there killing people. The Rafael Fiziev out there. We got so many people. The Armin, like I've said, the Armins, the Islam Makhachev's still young, kind of. You still got, good old, literally we can name them all. I can go on forever and name all these 155ers and 145ers that could even be a potential, like the Leah Tapiras up there and whatnot. Like, the Evlovs, the Arnold Allens that easily could move it up to 155. There are so many guys that are up and coming hungry that don't have nearly what these guys do. So for a 38-year-old and a 36-year-old 155ers and Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor to have such a big spotlight, like, cool. But do we want to see them fight? Do we want to see them fight for a number one contenders match? Do we want to see the title fight? Like, I'm telling you guys, I just don't know. It just blows me away. I just couldn't imagine Conor coming out here knocking out Michael Chandler, and then 3 months later, if he goes unscathed, fighting Islam Makhachev. And then, could you imagine? Like, could you imagine that? Just how crazy the buildup would be. How, like, we'd probably get, demon Conor McGregor back like he was against Khabib and that whole thing. Like, I just couldn't imagine this, man. It would just be one of the wildest spectacles ever. But there's just not another person that's ever going to get this treatment. Like, there's no way, like. And the thing that makes me laugh the most, if we're going to be really honest about Conor McGregor out here, this man legitimately only has one win over a legitimate 155er ever, and that was a champion in Eddie Alvarez. And Eddie Alvarez ain't even in the damn UFC anymore. And then you got this guy, freaking Michael Chandler, who only has 5 UFC fights, but has fought 4 of the top guys: Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Charles do Bronx Oliveira, and Tony Ferguson at the time, which, before he put him out to sleep, luckily he still kind of was up there in the argument for like the top 10, top 15 guys in 155. And now you got Conor. He fought, Nate Diaz, another guy that he beat, but Nate Diaz isn't even like a contender at 155. So it's just mind-blowing to me to see how great this guy has been in his career, but it's so upsetting sometimes to see how success a couple years success can keep it going for another 10 years. And I just don't know if Conor's worth it. Like, we got Max Holloway doing what he just did. I'd much rather see Max Holloway fight at 155 for the belt. Dustin Poirier's got the title shot. I'd much rather see him fight. Armin Sarukian, much rather see him fight. Charles Oliveira, much rather see him fight. Like, I'd rather see Conor McGregor fight these Michael Chandlers, the Beneil Dariushas, like these guys that are kind of falling off and, getting a little older. But again, you're not going to just waste Conor McGregor's fighting time just to fight Michael Chandler's, just to fight Beneil Dariush. You're gonna want him to fight one of these up and comers like Michael Chandler is and has been calling him out forever. And if he goes out there and beats Michael Chandler, I mean, imagine if Dustin Poirier beats Islam. I mean, he's got a guaranteed fourth fight with Dustin Poirier, and it's like, I don't know, man. I just don't think I'm ready for a weird time right now where Conor McGregor is going to waltz right in for a title fight after only winning once in 2016 and once in 2020, and then just kind of disappearing from the sport and just coming back here and there. And, like, let's not forget, when his last moment inside the octagon with a broken leg and yelling out, "Your wife's in my DMs" and whatnot, that was one of the darkest times in MMA history. With just the disrespect. Like, we've been trying to, like, show there's class in the sport. We've been trying to show that people are respectful, that, we're not mean and all these things. And yet here's Conor out there with a snap leg, cussing crazy, doctor stoppage, all these wild things. "Your wife's in me DMs," all these, like, I just don't know if I'm ready for a wild spectacle right now, because the UFC is doing so well without him. And then boom, we're just going to go right back to Conor. But as always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris, and let's go, baby.